Hi everyone, this is Laura Finco, your SRVEA Vice President and Bargaining Chair. Yesterday we had our general meeting to talk about our tentative agreement. We did so through Facebook Live. There were a number of members that weren't able to actually participate in the Facebook Live presentation, and to be honest, Facebook Live doesn't really translate very well into a YouTube video. So I decided to model some distance learning and create a PowerPoint presentation to share with everyone the tentative agreement, and also offer people the opportunities to be able to ask questions and get answers as you vote to ratify our tentative agreement. To start off, President Ann Katzberg had some opening remarks. I'm not going to read them here today, but you will be able to look at her opening remarks by clicking on the message box, or if you want to actually hear them as they were presented at the Facebook Live meeting, you can go ahead later and click on where the opening remarks are. And again, this PowerPoint presentation will be available to everyone as well as uploading it. So where we are. Well, basically after last year's negotiations where we took 15 hours to come to the beginning of a tentative agreement, we knew we needed a shift in culture. So we were transparent from the start. We knew we needed a contract that was student focused, and we just tipped the iceberg last year. So members worked throughout the summer to draft language, always with the intention that we'd be working collaboratively with management in order to perfect the language that will ultimately become our contract. We were ambitious. This was a 3-year successor agreement. So we offered 14 article drafts, including several new proposals, hoping for a very progressive and modernized contract. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, and we found ourselves back where we were last year. So where we are now, well, we got the settlement we knew management could always afford from the get-go. It was not only salary, but also much needed enhancements for our elementary and special ed, along with a historic MOU detailing our priorities for the Schools and Communities First initiative, which should be on the November 2020 ballot. We are the first, but hopefully not the last local association to negotiate this provision. Our students need us to be involved in making sure that this initiative passes. The bridge money that we got last year expires June 2023, and without an additional revenue stream, we risk losing everything that we've gained. This is why it's so important for us to insist, that the Schools and Communities First side letter was part of our settlement. We know that teachers are going to do the lion's share of the work, just like they did when Prop 30 and Prop 55 passed, and as well as local parcel taxes passed. But unlike those times, we wanted to make sure that our students benefited directly from our labor. So what did we get? Well, salary. Again, you'll be able to click on the link to the Facebook Live session, but let me just go over a few things. We have a 2.56 ongoing salary, which 2.5 of that is actually ongoing onto our salary schedule, and 0.06 goes to our benefits trust, which is self-funded. We also got an additional 0.5 added to the highest salary schedule cell of all of our certificated personnel salary schedules. That's our credentialed teachers. We got language that will allow a limited number of lower division units to be allowed for advancement, and this will start next year. It's not retroactive. We also have a one-time career salary schedule vertical enhancement following a leave. So this is going to help those of you that are on maternity leave, paternity leave, family medical leave, other catastrophic leaves like that, where you don't hit that 75% of the school year. Instead, you hit 60% and you'll be able to advance on the salary schedule vertically. We also added an increased service credit for up to 10 years of service credit for any new hires. And again, this isn't retroactive, but what we did is we incrementally putting it into place so that nobody leapfrogs over somebody else. In other words, a new hire is not going to leapfrog their service credit years over somebody who was hired just last year. We also insisted that private sector experience be counted for our non-classroom personnel. And again, this isn't retroactive. It's starting next year and incrementally will be put in place so as not to leapfrog. And then really huge big one for all of us is the doctoral degrees will be also a stipend, just like our master's degrees are and our board certified. If you hold more than one of these, you will get both stipends. Our health and welfare article was very contentious because from the get-go, management wanted to cap cash in lieu. What we were able to do was convince management to freeze cash in lieu and allow us to renegotiate in future. So right now, or at the start of our negotiations, cash in lieu was going to be capped at like $200, $250 per month, just enough to pay for the dental and vision if you so chose to take it. We got a lot of pushback from membership, rightfully so, and management turned around and agreed to increase the amount for the cap and wanted it to be $450. We were able to increase that to $464 starting January 1st, 2021, and then it freezes until we renegotiate. We also were able to negotiate a retiree benefit trust increase to $290 a month, and again, this increases incrementally according to CPI. The big caution is our non-Kaiser option. Unfortunately, it's getting harder and harder for medical providers to quote SRVEA because we have so few personnel who take the non-Kaiser option. It may come to a time when we will no longer be able to offer a non-Kaiser option. And so we have language in there to protect our membership. So if that is the case and a non-Kaiser option is not available, we'll be able to bargain its impact and move forward from there. I know this is scary to a lot of people who don't take Kaiser, but don't worry, we will have plenty of opportunity to get input from members so that no one is left in the dark. Now, I mentioned the Schools and Communities First MOU. It should be on the ballot for November 2020. Passage of this initiative is going to allow management to have the funds to continue the enhancements that we secured using the $3.2 million bridge. Part of that from last year, the rest of it from this year. But we also were able to negotiate that 38% of the annual proceeds received through Schools and Communities First would be able to be used directly by SRVEA for our priorities, such as lowering our caps, lowering our caseloads, and lowering our classroom maximums. We also want to decrease the ratio for the school psychologists, counselors, and nurses. And we want to have an embedded elementary prep, not one that is like a wacky Wednesday, but will actually be something that will happen during the instructional day. Again, all improvements that we believe are necessary. Now, I mentioned the bridge. Last year, we settled on a promise that $3.2 million each year would be provided for learning enhancements for the next 3 years. Again, that sunsets in June 2022. So it was really important for us to be able to bargain how the bridge money was going to be used. Last year, we used $1.4 million of that bridge money for enhancements to our secondary caseloads. We got nursing ratios, teacher librarians, counselor ratios reduced, amongst a number of things. So this year, we insisted on being able to negotiate the remaining $1.8 million, but we wanted to specifically focus on TK5 and special ed. And so we have the TK5 maximums with TK3 with a cap of 25 and grades 4 and 5 with a cap of 31. Any student beyond that Teacher would receive an overage of 37.5% of the hourly rate. And this includes our prep specialists. We also were able to negotiate special day class changes based upon the special ed task force recommendations, starting just little steps forward, and then next year being able to improve even more, or the following years when Schools and Communities First passes. We also were able to establish school psychologist ratios. Again, not exactly what we wanted, but we made small steps in the positive direction. And then when Schools and Communities First passes, the idea will be that we will be able to secure a 700-to-1 ratio as one of our top priorities. Also, we rolled back the middle school counselors ratio to 600-to-1. And again, with Schools and Communities First, the goal is to get that down to 400-to-1. So you see that there is a lot of marriage between Schools and Communities First and the work that we've been able to do with the bridge money and securing those enhancements for our students to provide them the best services, the best supports, the best class sizes, and the best educators. Speaking of best educators, Article 7 is on employee rights. And we were really adamant about ensuring that our temporary employees receive some security. And so we were able to negotiate in our tentative agreement a section specifically for temporary employees, where clearly defines the processes which affect temporary members as they progress towards probationary status. It also includes provisions for rehire rights and processes. I encourage you to click on for the tentative agreement overview and read the article itself so that you have a good idea of what the article is actually stating. Another area where we were looking to make it more secure for our members was Article 13, transfers and reassignments, particularly the reassignments. We were able to negotiate that before implementing any involuntary reassignments, a site administrator would solicit volunteers. But if it was still necessary to have an involuntary reassignment, there is a process that would be followed, including a stipend for involuntary reassignments and a stipend for involuntary transfers. We believe that these are improvements that will help in the situation when a member needs to change schools or change classrooms. Some other highlighted articles to look over is Article 15 on leaves. There's some additional language there, adding uncles and aunts, long time needed. Article 11 on hours of employment, there's some clarification on adjunct duties versus supervision. And also a new article, personal and academic freedom, that we believe will really enhance our ability to teach particularly controversial subjects. The remaining articles, such as non-discrimination, association rights, organizational security, and the completion and duration, are all legally mandated language or required when doing a successor agreement. The other remaining articles, employee resignation and peer assistance review, just added some ed code language or was a MOU already in place that we wanted to create as permanent contract language, as in the case of peer assistance and review. If you have any questions, you can go to this tiny URL link, submit your questions, and a fact sheet will be sent to SRVEA members as soon as practical. We appreciate your time and your patience. Voting for this contract ratification is taking place now. It opened at 8 o'clock Tuesday morning and will close at 4 p.m. Thursday afternoon. If you're having any trouble accessing the links to vote, please make sure that you contact me at mizfinco@aol.com. That's MIZFINCO@aol.com with your situation, and I'll make sure that you get a ballot. Again, thank you, and we appreciate your time.